Territory Season 1 briefly suggests that there might be more to Marshall's parentage than what meets the eye in a statement by Graham. The majority of territories cast play members of the Lawson family, a dynasty of cattle barons who have reigned over the world's largest cattle station for several generations. Though they may be tied by blood, the Lawsons are far from the most loving family, with the dynamics of power and wealth interfering with their potential affection for one another, which is why Marshall spends most of the season away from everyone else. Marshall Lawson is something of a rogue in Territory Season 1. He's the prodigal son whom Colin, the family patriarch, wants to take over the mantle as the ranch's leader following the death of Daniel Lawson. However, Marshall has minimal interest in the family business and explains multiple times that he doesn't like the way people look at him when they know he's a Lawson. He wants to be judged for his character, not for his family's status of wealth, making him one of the few characters who isn't driven by the desire to control the ranch. Graham claims that he isn't completely sure Marshall is his son in Territory. Graham lashes out at Marshall while drunk in episode 1. Marshall is the son of Graham Lawson, though notably not the son of Emily Lawson. He was born to Graham's first wife, who died shortly after Marshall was born, and his father quickly remarried Emily. Marshall and Graham are shown to have a strained relationship throughout Season 1, with them barely able to exchange words when Marshall returns home for Daniel's funeral in episode 1. Toward the end of the episode, Graham gets drunk and tells Marshall, "I'm not even sure you're mine. I think you're someone else's mistake." These are obviously hurtful words, and they could imply a number of things. Graham and Emily don't have the strongest relationship, but this would imply that he suspected his first wife of cheating on him as well. There's not much information known about her. That means Marshall's father could be another man in the area, potentially even someone audiences have met in Territory Season 1. An obvious suggestion could be Campbell Miller, who's around Graham's age, but that could be too on the nose of a choice. Graham likely is Marshall's father, but just wanted to start a fight. Who knows if there's anything real about what Graham is saying? Michael Dorman grimacing as Graham Lawson in Territory. Realistically, Graham is likely Marshall's father. It's clear in the scene that he didn't really believe anything he was saying and just wanted to start a fight because he was hurting. He may have doubts about his past and his relationship with his first wife, but he probably doesn't have any concrete information to suggest Marshall isn't his son. After all, in episode 5, Graham shows an interest in repairing his relationship with Marshall, which he probably wouldn't want to do if he knew he wasn't his overall. This scene is more about Graham than it is about Marshall. Graham has spent his whole life being abused by Colin, who would take out his anger and internal frustrations on him. While Graham doesn't abuse Marshall in the same way, through physical violence, the scene shows that he's subject to getting wasted and making harsh, accusatory statements. It's like he's emulating his father, in a way, but he isn't quite as threatening and is more so just hurtful in a sad, pitiful way. What Marshall not actually being a Lawson would mean for Territory Season 2. Marshall's true parentage could create conflict going forward. Why Marshall really runs away after Daniel's death in Territory Season 1. Custom image by Simone Ashmore. If Marshall actually ends up not being a Lawson, there are two ways his story could progress. Marshall not really being a Lawson would likely make Colin disinherit him, even though he was raised as his grandson and already made to be Daniel's heir. Colin clearly doesn't want a non-Lawson inheriting Marianne's station, and he probably wouldn't be willing to make an exception for Marshall, even though he's been raised as one of them. The other option is that Marshall could actually inherit the station, only for his real father to suddenly show up and take interest in him. Territory and Yellowstone have a lot in common, so this idea pulls from a plotline in the Paramount show's 3rd season, where Jamie Dutton's real father shows him and tries to turn him against his family. Jamie's father tries to be the loving figure that John Dutton never was, but it's clear that his intentions are only for financial gain and to destroy John. So, in Territory, it's possible that Marshall's father could return and try to steer him towards seizing more power, eliminating Graham, Colin, and the rest of the Lawsons to establish a new dynasty.